Oh, hi there. I was just reading about the school board candidates in the voters pamphlet. That's boring, right? Uh, Perhaps, but maybe the most important votes you cast in the upcoming election. I'm a guy who believes that education is about reading, writing, math, English, science, etc., not cultural or political indoctrination. I'm Mike Jones, and one candidate jumped out at me as someone who reflects similar values. So I gave him a call, and he's here with me right now, Mr. Rick Nelson. Thanks for joining me, Rick.
Thanks, Mike, for having me on.
What is motivating a retired merchant mariner to be on the Josephine County School Board?
I think basically I've looked at what education has become in this country and this state, probably the most liberal state in the union. And I'm distressed. I'm worried because, as you said in your opening, it seems that straight education, writing and reading and critical thinking is out the window for the god of political correctness. And how can we teach children to love our country when they're teaching to hate the country and the people in it? So the school board has a mission to determine curriculum and how the school is conducted. It's a very powerful board. And I thought, well, maybe, just maybe, a conservative voice on the board might help it to get back on the right track.
Yes, that makes sense. It is sad that we're in a circumstance where we're now, we've abandoned Dr. King's dream, and now we are teaching people that the most important thing is the color of their skin, and that we need to make judgments about people based on immutable characteristics such as their skin color. And that's. I thought we had left that. I pretty much grew up in a society where that was discouraged to make distinctions of race, an issue.
To me, it's un-American. I've been an American for 75 years. I was taught to be colorblind. I mean, you judge a person by what's in his heart and how he acts and how he relates to other people. It's so interesting to in history. Back in 1964, we had the Civil Rights Act, which basically codified racism's out. We're not going to do it anymore. And this was in 64. So what's happened is we've collapsed back on racism. And for some reason, the white people are responsible for all the problems people of color have today, which is ridiculous. Last time I looked in a classroom, a math book is a math book. There's 30 seats and one teacher. You teach math. Not everybody is going to excel in it. Not everybody, but it doesn't depend on the color of their skin. I mean, we all have equal opportunities to be the best we can in this country. I mean, it's the most free country in the world. We were founded on freedom, not slavery.
Right.
This 1612 thing or whatever it is.
Yeah, 1619 project, yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Totally without merit. And then as far as systemic racism, it's a lie.
Yes.
It's a total lie. I have black friends and I'm close to.
That's the old trope everybody trots out. You know what? But the thing is I don't apologize for that anymore. If I know some black people, but they're not my best friends or whatever, but that doesn't matter because you know what? I'm not a racist, and shame on you for insinuating such a thing. That's how I look at it. And you know what?
You're right. I mean, can you tell me one person you know that's a racist? Here in Grants Pass.
No.
Can you say no?
No,
Yeah,
I
that's the
don't. And
point.
I know other people who have said that they know people who are racists, but I don't know any personally myself, which is odd because I thought everybody who was a Republican was inherently racist. So
Automatic.
we should
Right.
all know hundreds of these
Yeah.
people, but I don't. So
And you can legislate morals all day long. It's what's in the heart. You can say, okay, we've got to do away with racism. It's impossible. Show me one country that's done away with racism. You can't. You can't.
right.
This country,
I'm sorry. Go
our
ahead.
country, is the freest, most open place on the face of the earth, where if you come, you get an education and you work hard, you're going to succeed. What an interesting thought that is. And
Yeah.
what a beautiful thought.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's keep it going.
And I have heard from numerous people who've traveled the globe that this is the least racist place that they have ever been. And and I've done little bit of traveling myself, and I concur with that. But
I,
so,
I
so
traveled all my life in the merchant marine. Okay. I've been around the world, many countries. I can tell you, families, moms and dads love their kids just like we do. When we cry, it's the same salt tears that you and I cry, the same. When we bleed, it's the same blood. It, and that's the unity. That's the unity that God meant us all to be. It's when the politicians get in and start tweaking it, is when we get in trouble.
right. And I'm reading through the voters pamphlet here, and I noticed some of the other candidates in here, and they're using woke language right in their little blurb in the voters pamphlet here. This really ought to be a wake up call to people, because you're building the culture of tomorrow today with what is being taught to the children in schools.
Absolutely right. I mean, these are our future leaders, and it's the face of America. And I hope that face doesn't have a mask on it. Can you imagine wearing a mask all your life and afraid of not only the germs, but white people? And then
Right.
white people afraid of black people
Yes.
or Chinese or whatever. What kind of country is that?
Well, and it isn't just some certain minorities against white people. It's other white people virtue signaling against other white people. It isn't just these little teeny fractious groups. I mean, let's take trans people, for instance. They are 0.03% of the population, not 3%. 0.03%. So they're a very extremely small minority. So how did this get to be such a contentious thing where people are fighting amongst one another about it? It's because people have riled other people up, and they're telling people that people of a certain political belief out there are haters of trans people, and you need to come to their rescue and defend them. And so people get up on a high horse, and they march around being the social justice warrior for every woke cause out there. And this has us all at each other's throats and fearful of saying anything that may offend somebody.
Because I can't lose my job. I'm retired. You can't lose your job. So I think that's what emboldens us to speak out. Is we're relatively, not untouchable. Sure, they can go through my tax returns, all this. Enemy of the State. You ever see that movie? Excellent
Yes.
movie about what government can do to a man. But I think that this is going to come to a peak when we get this gender thing in athletics. When a boy can compete against a girl, I am shocked that the feminist movement, that all women in America are saying, wait a minute, give me a break. This has gone too far.
Yeah, I
If I'm
agree.
on the school board, it's never gonna happen at North Valley or any of these places. If I have to drive my car out onto the track and do some Brodies and lay down on the track, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, it is a silly thing, and I kept waiting for somebody because it's so absurd that you keep waiting for people to stand up and go, okay, yeah, we're all done with that. It's ridiculous, and yet it kept going, and you wonder what's going on with that. Interesting, the other day on Smirkonish, is the CNN Sunday morning program, James Carville was on there talking about how he's sick of woke politics, and many others are too. And let me play that clip for you and get your response.
Is it possible that the votes that you lose because of the wokeness conversation are more than offset by those who are enthused by this kind of dialogue?
No. And most of the people that are enthused by this kind of dialogue live in Boston or Manhattan or Washington. By the way, we're going to carry D.C. and New York and Massachusetts. We're not going to win an election in a faculty lounge. That's just idiotic. I mean, I'm not saying that whole assumption is idiotic. And the number of people that have contacted me or had people contact me after this has been enormously gratifying. Everybody just wanted this temperature to break. I think that I get people say they're woke and they're tired of being woke. People want to, after this pandemic and stuff, people want to go about their lives. They want to enjoy it. They want to enjoy their friends. They don't want to be nervous about how you address them or talk to them, anything. And, that's just where people are. And people have gotten fired over this. But people have lost their jobs over retweeting academic research. I mean, time and time again, you hear this from everybody. And of course, people say, I don't want to say anything because I'll lose my job. Well, it so happens that I'm just at a point in life where there's nothing to cancel me from, so I don't care. Do what you want to do.
You just said that. You just said that same thing. Isn't that something? Even liberals of old have very little in common with the new extreme left woke that are intending seemingly to take us to a place of, quasi-communism, extreme socialism.
Yeah. Where did they learn that? Where did they learn this communist Marxist theory stuff?
In college. In college. That's what I'm guessing. And it's funny because now you have teachers who think, okay, well, this is the new hip thing. So now I'm going to take this into K-12 education and, prime these people coming up. I mean, we don't know what we're dealing with. If, 20 years down the road, and if we don't, head this off at the pass now, I mean, here's a picture that indicates how insane things are. And this isn't necessarily woke politics. This is just the craziness of the crazy political nature of what's happening in schools right now. Here's a picture. And this is a screen grab from an ad for Oregon schools, and some teacher talking about how we're reopening the schools again. And, then they pan to this picture. Here are these two little kids. He's got to be about 7 or 8. And they're sitting at their desks with a plexiglass cage around them with masks on. These are young kids who are not known for even getting the virus. If they do, it's a very short-lived minor symptom situation, and boom, they're done with it. And they're not known to be carriers of the disease. And yet we're putting them in little boxes. We're making them wash their hands every 15 minutes and wear these masks while they're out playing on the playground. Well,
it's unbelievable. When I looked at that little girl in the cage, she was almost like a specimen, like a little specimen. And the birth rate in America is going down. We're not. It's less than 2.0, and we're not replacing ourselves. Will it come to a time when this little child will? Oh, look, a child. My gosh, I hope it never happens that way. But to pen them in, kids are kids. I want to breathe the air. I want to look out the window. I want to make faces at the person next to me. Be normal. And we're teaching our kids not to be normal.
Yes. Recently, at a track meet here in Oregon, some young gal passed out after crossing the finish line. I guess from lack of oxygen, because the policy was to wear masks. He was running track wearing a mask. And
I understand Kate Brown changed her policy after her people got a call from the attorney of the girl. Suddenly, it changed.
Yes. Well, it is truly absurd. I wanted to touch on this one article that I saw. This is a Breitbart article talking about a school board election in Texas. Anti-critical race theory school curriculum candidates win big in Texas town with 70% of the vote. So basically, it is my contention that wokeism is not popular. Wokeism is popular with wokeists and some people who are fearful of not fitting in with what's hip in society, or worried about what someone might think of them. But voting gives us all an anonymous opportunity to speak our minds, and I hope that we do make school board elections in this county a referendum on this type of thinking. I'm glad for people who are interested in excellence in education, which means we actually teach people things and stop trying to shove opinions into their head, before they have an opportunity to learn how to think.
Mike, I have to tell you this. If I was running in Portland, I wouldn't have a prayer. It never happened. But because I'm in Southern Oregon and we feel differently down here, I've got a chance. And that's what I'm praying for. If I can make a difference with the curriculum, make a difference with the sanity that we need in the school district. Josephine County ranks 71st out of 100 in the state of school districts. That's poor. We can do better than that. So
absolutely,
let's keep our fingers crossed. And I don't think I'm going to win 70%. If I win 2%, we made it.
Right, exactly. Well, you know what? Thank you very much for taking time out of your day to speak with me and to speak with the people of Josephine County. I think it's beneficial for people to know how important these things are, and hopefully I'll get to talk to you again.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike.